Hey all, welcome to Monday, welcome to Countdown Day, and today, as voted on by fans all across social media, we're going to count down the top 10 Transformers Titans. This is going to be a big one in the latest GotBot Counts Down. Hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe, and while you are at it, light 'em up, baby. Hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton and it lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that is in the description down below. Also in the description down below. And if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we have to offer to you through spring. Or, of course, hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. And, yeah, so this is Top 10 Titans. And a couple of people said, I don't know if there's enough to do 10. Well, let's talk about what can go included here. Anything that is a gigantic bot, I left this very open. Some people interpreted it as character. That's cool. Some interpreted it as Titan class release. That's cool. And a few said, well, these are third party, but they are definitely Titan size. That's cool. Realizing that the Titan class size is somewhat limited in and of itself and does include things that by rights aren't really Titan. I felt like I wanted to spread the wings here for voters as much as possible. For example, Grand Max was eligible because we have a Titan offering of it. A couple of Titan offerings if we go all the way back to G1, say. But by rights in fiction, he wasn't a Titan. Black Zarek, we have a Titan offering. Same thing. In fiction, he wasn't a Titan. Omega Supreme, Devastator, Predaking. I allowed all of them because they've had Titan releases. How can you argue it? But in fiction, it was a bit of a different story. So very wide open. We're going to have some fun with this one, and we're going to kind of approach it in that manner, where, you know what, a whole lot of things can be included and counted as Titan because of different arguments that can be made for them. Okay, that's enough rambling from me. How about we do what we always do and kick things off? Oh, wait, I can't kick things out for number 10 first. I skipped over the honorable mentions, didn't I? There are two honorable mentions this time around. The first is Predaking. He had some votes, not enough to rank, but again, I see it as a combiner. I have the Unique Toys Warlord, that works best for me, but we can't deny that he had a Titan release, and even then a KO of that Titan release, still at that Titan size. The other one is animated Omega Supreme. A lot of people waiting for him to be released in plastic. We know that from Transformers Animated, he was, in essence, the Ark. He's huge, right? So, again, I allowed him to be counted, and he had enough votes to garner himself a spot as an honorable mention. Neither animated Omega Supreme nor Predaking actually made the list. Who did? You know what we're going to do, man? We're going to kick things off like we always do with number 10. First, kicking things off at number 10 is this guy. That's right, it is Combiner Wars Devastator. Interestingly, Combiner Wars Devastator, not Unite Warriors Devastator. That being said, I feel like that this is one of those that's a little bit wishy-washy. By rights, Devastator is a combiner. He is not Titan-sized. However, he was released as a Titan offering in the main line. Therefore, he counts, right? And anything kind of that size counts. It's a little bit of a slippery slope for me because I really feel like he should have been smaller. However, undoubtedly, the guy captures the look of Devastator, and a lot of people just found him easier to get. If you were able to get the Unite Warriors, it is indeed the better one. Having Scrapper here, I do have the arms changed on him. I did replace them with the Perfect Effect ones. So my Combiner Wars Devastator is great as Devastator, excellent. I think that it absolutely fills the bill as that combiner. As individual Constructicons, they did need a little bit of help. In my case, it came from the Perfect Effect set that gave a lot of them new arms and their individual blasters. However, in terms of the fact that we have a number of Voyager-sized bots that go together to give us the gigantic, the terrifying Devastator, I mean, it's hard to argue with it. A lot of fans waited a long time to get a Devastator that they really wanted, and the Titan line, or the Titan class, really, really delivered for a lot of fans. Enough of them that Titan Devastator was able to take the number 10 slot. Going from the Titan class Combiner Wars Devastator at number 10, at number 9 we go to the Ark, the Kingdom Ark. I got this really because I wanted a version of the last Autobot, who is gigantic in and of himself, but a lot of people absolutely smitten to have a version of the Ark, and something that's big enough that you can put really smaller bots with for display and it will still look good. Whether you want this for the Ark or whether you want this for the last Autobot, it's hard to deny the kind of lasting impact that this release is going to have on the fandom. After all, we were almost 40 years waiting for a version of the Ark, and now we finally have it. How can you not love it? Yes, Titan class Ark takes the number 9 slot. Now number 8 is a little bit wonky, so stick with me here, because number 8 was technically Unicron. Now, this is Owen Studio Cell, who had 1 vote, and Haslab Unicron had 1 vote. So they kind of tied out and evened out. So I counted both and just said, hey, Unicron, whether you prefer Cell or whether you prefer the Haslab Unicron, I think they both would fall in a Titan range. Obviously the Haslab is, like, if anything, it would be the biggest Titan we've ever had. Cell would really kind of fall in line with the size, the likes of something like, I don't know, Combiner Wars Devastator or Predaking, like something that's a bit smaller, but still head and shoulders over other Transformers, and therefore kind of counts as a Titan. Yeah, Unicron, whether the Cell version, whether the Haslab version, takes the number 8 slot. And 7 is Grand Max. Now you might say, whoa, 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 that thing that you're holding in your hand is not a Titan. By rights, in fiction, Grand Max is not a Titan. He is the little brother, both kind of literally and I guess figuratively, of Fortress Maximus. And his size is big enough to basically accommodate maybe 2 human beings. He's about the size of God Ginrai. So he should be maybe a few inches bigger than this. Nevertheless, he was allowed to be included here on the list because his original G1 release was definitely Titanic, and his more recent, I think it was Generation Select's release, was also a Titan. I can't argue with it. By rights, the character in fiction is much smaller, but the red-armed version of Fortress Maximus, known as Grand Maximus, takes the number 7 slot. Coming in now at number 6, we have a legacy offering. We delve into Transformers Cybertron and the Unicron trilogy, I suppose, in general, and this guy. That's right, it is Cybertron Metroplex. And you know what, there's a lot about him to like. The guy stands 22 inches, so he is definitely Titanic. He has tons of articulation. Arguably the most articulated of all of the Titans. He takes something like 52 steps to turn from robot, I think, into his like bucket-wheeled excavator mode, which is fairly accurate to the show. His worker mode, fairly accurate. That has a new head. He even has light piping that lights up his eyes and his forehead. That said, oh, and I'll even note this. He has like the, what do they call it? Like the ear lock or whatever it was, that's able to connect to like the modulators and bases and stuff from the War for Cybertron trilogy. His height makes that a little challenging. So you can attempt it if you like, but I think it's neat that it was at least included in there. What's unfortunate is that he didn't come with Drill Bit and he didn't come with his Cyber Planet key. A lot of fans really, really wanted that, and I'm sure third party will rectify that. Come on, DNA Design, if you haven't already done it. I'll also note that, you know, this offering fills the bill for a lot of people that missed out on the earlier generations Metroplex. They see this as at least a nice filler for going, instead of trying to go back and get the Fall of Cybertron Metroplex, right? This one is a nice filler because you know what? It is a Metroplex, and maybe a Metroplex by any other name is still fantastic. Enough fans love the Cybertron version enough that he was able to take the number 6 slot. And now here we are once again at the ever popular, ever coveted halfway mark. And obviously at the halfway mark we have Black Zarak. Again, Black Zarak is about the size of Grand Max. He's much smaller. After in the Japanese fiction, after the original Scorponok Mega Zarak body was destroyed, Zarak said, hey, I'm going to make a smaller body, and he made well, Black Zarek. Again, he was released as a Titan in the Selects line. I can't really argue with it. I think that this is arguably the most gorgeous of all the Titans, what with his black and gold highlighted by his red and purple head and gold face with so much molded in detail that's almost overwhelming. Yeah, Black Zarek. You know what? He takes the number 5 slot, but he may take number 1 for most beautiful color scheme. Coming in at number 4, we have Trypticon. Yeah, I'm so glad he's on here. I never had the G1. I did know somebody who had it, and I did fiddle with it as a kid, but I never had it. And I always thought, as cool as it was, I wanted something bigger. Enter the Titans Return version. And it's hard to argue with this. I'm surprised that they didn't do, the like Beast Wars version of this with the like slightly remolded section of the head. But iconically, everyone that sees this knows that it's Trypticon. Almost unanimously, can't say quite unanimously, but almost unanimously, those that voted for this guy seem to be huge fans of Godzilla as well. One voter even said Trypticon or Mechagodzilla if you prefer. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know jack about Godzilla. Nothing. However, I can respect the fact that this dude here is, in all of my growing up, he was a gigantic T-Rex. Some people call it a kaiju? Is that right? I could be wrong. I don't know all of these terms and fictions for a lot of these Japanese creatures, and I apologize. Nevertheless, the Titanic Decepticon base that turns into this chomping, stomping dino or dino-like, lizard-like dude, man, oh man, how can you not be terrified of Trypticon? How can you not love Trypticon? He's fantastic, and he took the number 4 slot. Number 3 is Metroplex. I think we all knew that sooner or later Metroplex was going to appear on the list, and it seemed like a fairly even split vote between G1 and Fall of Cybertron, so I put them both together because I'm not going to lie, I know that this by rights is the Fall of Cybertron Metroplex, but like, I use it fine as a G1, but yeah, I mean, arguably, for a lot of fans, the first Titan that they encountered, arguably, for a lot of fans, the best Titan that they encountered. But even in G1, he was never quite large enough until we finally got 24 inches, 2 feet tall, of fantastic. Yeah, Generations Metroplex. He kind of covers G1, he kind of covers Fall of Cybertron, and he takes the number 3 slot. Closing in on the tippy top at number 2, we feel the sting of Scorponok. And of course, yes, Scorponok. Or, I mean, you could call him Zarek if you prefer, if you want to call him Mega Zarek, go for it. But like, yeah, Scorponok, right? Some that voted, this was so interesting. He had a ton of votes, and a lot of people that voted for him said that they loved his Japanese character. Not so much his North American, but his Japanese character. Some said, I just love the interplay of the green and purple. It stands out. Some said, you know what? Much like with Black Zarek, you can do the double-headed flying dragon mode, I suppose you could say, where his like 2 arms become the dragon heads. Plus, you can do the base mode, the robot mode. Plus, his third mode is a gigantic scorpion. Man, if you are afraid of bugs, could you be any more terrified of a titanic scorpion? Probably not. You know what? I absolutely support and back all of those arguments. Robot, scorpion, base, color scheme, characterization, it all comes together to help this guy solidify himself at the number 2 slot. And can you believe it? Number 1 is a tie. These guys went back and forth between slots number 1 and 2 pretty much the whole round of voting. And in the end, they ended up being, well, the exact same. But I did admittedly put some votes together. So let's start first with Fortress Maximus. Fortress Maximus is a kind of mix of votes of the G1 as well as the Titans Return. And I said, you know what, whichever version, it's Fort Max. It's the, it was the first Titan to actually be a Titan at 2 feet tall. And his updated version, while a lot of people don't so much like the base version, I myself even tend to do like a fan mode of it. I do like the added articulation, and he's still that 2 feet tall Autobot base. What's not to like? But I get it. There are some criticisms and whatnot that people have of this particular mold, and they still prefer the G1. That's cool. That's up to you. So we're gonna take him, and I'm gonna try and lay him down out of the way, which is challenging. Whew. And then we have this. Now this is actually the Wei Jiang Ultima Guard. Some people just said Omega Supreme. And I know I counted the animated separately because I think his take is wildly different because he's the Ark rather than being like the shuttle, the tank, and the track, right? There were a couple of votes for Terminus Giganticus. Gabriel had a couple of votes. But by far, I would say, other than the general term Omega Supreme, which a lot of people consider to be the first Titan, I would say the most popular mold to get votes, not Terminus Giganticus, not this guy, not Gabriel, not any of the smaller ones that exist that would work with like Legends class offerings. Honestly, the true blue #1 Omega Supreme, and I did review the guy, is the War for Cybertron Siege iteration, and I can't argue it. Yeah, I get that the track to the base is a little bit small, but you know what? We have a convincing tank, we have a convincing shuttle. He comes with a little Micromaster, and the articulation and solidity of that articulation was second to none. You know what? Maybe you're sitting there thinking, I didn't get that version of Omega Supreme because I have one of the other ones. If you've ever thought, do I want the Guardian Bot? If you have the scratch and you have the space, I can tell you now, it's a fantastic mold. Good enough that honestly, fans made the War for Cybertron Siege Omega Supreme, along with Titan's Return Fortress Maximus, #1 Titan. Whew, this was a tough one to do. I apologize if I stammered over words or anything. I'm trying to lift all these Titans around and maximize my space. Who got votes that did not appear on the list? The Fall of Cybertron Broadside. I don't know anything about that. Apparently there was concept art for it. I can't imagine Broadside being a Titan. Commander class, but it's the same argument that I use for Tidal Wave. It's a big boat, and before anybody says, it's an aircraft carrier. Aircraft carrier can hold 5,000 citizens. A typical city holds 5,000. 50,000. So, I don't know. But I don't know. It doesn't work for me, but it might for you. Besides Broadside, Mega Zarek specifically, though I kind of lumped that in with Scorponok. Who else? Cybertron Quick Mix. Don't really know the character. Legacy Nemesis. Brave Max. I like that Brave Max got included. I hope I'm saying this right. Vigilum. And I like this one. Wheelie. Not because he's a Titan, just because he's a Titanic nuisance, a Titanic annoyance, a Titanic pain in the rump. All of them, and more got votes. Did your favorites make the list or not? I appreciate you guys coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through spring, or of course hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. While you are at it, please man, hit the subscribe button, stick around, have some fun with us here on the channel, and don't forget that somehow, someway, each and every single solitary day, you right there, you do make a difference in the world, and I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights, at the stop motion premieres, or the old-fashioned way right here inside the videos.